on the troll.
Hello and welcome back to MZUMBE. We're back again. It's the time of the night where we have to talk about issues that affect some of these people in South Africa and us and everyone else, right? Some of you have been saying that we must talk about Uthandwa Temple, or in fact review it, because that's how we started. But yeah, we just outgrown that part. But that being said, it still doesn't mean that we cannot bring you the stories that perhaps are not touched, or perhaps you have heard them, just you did not know the gist of the story. So that is our main things here that we do. That is what we do. We bring you the full stories of what is currently happening. If the pieces are not adding up, then we come with a complete story. So here's a story for you. You know that MAkhumalo is working, right?
She's rich.
You know she's rich. Apparently she's in charge now, or she could be in charge, or she could even be losing a direction just because she's too focused, or maybe because she thinks she's too big. That's a feeling that you'd get when you are watching that reality show.
Coming from her husband.
And then Mselegu would come and clarify a few things, obviously, because maybe of the backlash, or because he wanted to clarify those things. We don't know. But what is ours now is what affects the society. What is it that is happening behind the scene? You could have had or could have bumped into some of this news on your most important TVs, your most important channels. I'm talking about mainstream medias. Yes, but you could not piece the puzzles together. So we are going to do that for you. That's not going to be a problem. Emily, how are you doing?
Hi, Mr. Anonymous. I'm doing well. I'm doing okay. Speaking of reviewing, I'm like, guys, it's difficult. Remember how when we used to review, always be the bad people? Like,
yes. No one understood us because we just say what people don't want to hear.
Yeah, it was difficult and it's emotionally draining. And I was just like, no. Let me just focus on bringing the facts, or rather finding out the information that obviously on the show we're not really told much about. What we know is that MAkhumalo is rich. MAkhumalo can afford to pay for medical bills. She's forever changing cars. You can tell that she's wealthy now, or she at least is building herself or you know, the name of Mselegu to something wealth. But then we didn't know how. Like for a very long time we didn't know. We thought it was influencing, you know what I'm saying? I thought it's influencing money, because the only part of herself that she shared was that of influencing. And the last time on the show itself, she had shared that she you know, she had gotten a job at the mines, and that's as far that she was willing to share. But little did we know that actually she is part ownership of a lithium mine.
Yes.
So it was very interesting for me to find out. These news were very much new to me.
Not entirely, Emily, because if you remember when we were interested in what they were doing, there was a talk of lithium mine during the visits to Vivian's house, I think, or something like that. But there was a talk of the lithium mine through Mselegu's mouth.
Yes, he spoke
the connections
about
that he was
mine.
making.
He said there was going to be a lithium mine at MZUMBE. I remember we talked about it when we were reviewing, and he had mentioned something about it being discovered 3 years ago from the time that he was shooting Erot. I remember that part.
Yes.
And Vivian Reddy, they were talking there at his house.
That was when MAkhumalo was introduced, to Rhodes.
Yeah, I remember that part. But then I thought it was going to be something that was going to take like years and years before finalization, because usually with a mine, there's a lot of procedures, right? You have to take before you open a mine where people live.
Yes.
But it looks like that did not happen per se in MZUMBE for some weird reason.
Lately, did you know maybe that everything was already in motion? The wheels were already
it was
moving.
already done. So about 9 months ago, the people of MZUMBE were complaining about a lithium mine that had just been opened in their village. So lithium is that mineral that they use for your electric cars now, your cell phones, your batteries. Apparently, it's also used in medication and stuff. So it's a quite valuable mineral now, considering the fact that we are using like rechargeable devices, your laptops, your cell phones. We're using a lot of electronic things in all throughout the world. So yeah, major tech companies are in need of lithium, and they are using it for batteries for these devices. So residents of MZUMBE about 9 months ago, and apparently it's Wat 15 where the mine is taking place on the south coast, thought that it was the end of hardship for this community and the beginning of a blossoming life when a lithium mine began its operations about 4 years ago. But now a section of the community was up in arms against the SA Lithium mine owned by SA Lithium, claiming that it had brought a trail of destruction or had brought a trail of destruction and plunged their families and individual lives into ruins. However, the mine said it was to the benefit of the community, having created more than 250 jobs since opening its doors. Now I have a question.
Isn't it a story of all the mines that would come and
with promises,
and then they tell you that we have done this and that, and you believe it from the face value, but the problem is that people who live around that mine, they normally suffer. I remember in my area, there was also a talk of such. Luckily, my people, they don't take it. We don't take it from my village. We're not having that. You can come with your stories and how you're going to build us new houses and all. This is our forefathers' land. This is our forefathers' land. It starts here. With mines, it starts here where you are at. They move one person. The next thing, they move the entire society from enjoying the lands that are only left for them. Remember, when the planning, the moving of people and how people were positioned during those hard times where people of South Africa were attacked by those people who came with ships and whatnot. There was no planning and there was no survey that was done.
No.
It was an issue of farming at the time. So they moved some of these people to places that could have been mines. So they realized that later, now that the farming is no longer the thing that is important. Now they want to move you again from the so-called land that belongs to you now. And that's a problem that I have with these mines. I know they claim they bring a lot of whatnot, and they must add crime into that because they obviously come with people from other areas who are used to living in a certain way. They must add crimes into that. They must add basically havoc. If you ask me, the money they bring, if they do bring any, and I would say that because these mines, they promise and they tell you, they give you stats that some of them, you ask yourself, who's the beneficiary of this? But well, in this country, there's always a face of everything. We know that. So they if you check the cost that they come with to the society compared to what they bring or they claim to live or they claim to do for the society, it's always 10 to 90% of the cost. 10% of what they would do, and then 90% of you suffering. So that would mean some of people with permanent diseases, some people with destructured houses, a lot of things, displaced, and just,
can you imagine what happens if the mineral is in your yard?
If it has to pass in your yard, which is not something that they're gonna tell you before they start, they would tell you, no, we
have to move.
Then as time goes on, as they keep on digging, because this is a game of hunger, not even hunger. This is a game of greediness. You know how it is. Mining is basically, in my opinion, a game of greediness. You know, they will keep on digging and going forward as long as this thing is there. If you keep on seeing it. You don't know who you trample upon. It's okay, because that's what you do, and that's what your kids are enjoying the money. It's all good.
And once they are done, the land is so deplorable, and it is so, nothing can grow, nothing happens. There are landmarks there by Carltonville. Oh my God, there's it's like a desert. Like there's nothing grows. It's like sand. The soil is also destroyed. You can't even plant anything there that will grow. Nobody can live there, and that's where usually the Zamazamas are scrapping for whatever mineral that they can find.
Exactly.
But it has become an abandoned place. You can't live there as a normal human being. So can you imagine the people that were living there before the mines, were brought there? And then there's also that element of, Mr. Anonymous, I think you briefly mentioned it, about how back during pre-1994, people were displaced. People were moved from the cities. Our people were
from where they were going
cities.
to build what they call the cities,
their homes,
and then they moved
took them
everyone
to the Bantu stands, right? Now the Bantu stance is being discovered that there's minerals.
Now people want
they are
it.
displaced again.
And the problem with it is that now they are no longer doing it by that kind of force. They use one of you within the area.
Yeah.
I remember when they were presenting the mining to us and what this thing is going to do. Listening to those people, you would want to smack them. The naivety, if they have any, because most of them, they are targeted because of naivety, and they are promised to be CLOs and whatnot,
Be rich.
community liaison and person. But you are going to be left with the egg on your face when you realize that even your people, they have to move.
Yes.
When you have to convince your family that they have to move. I know you know where I'm going with this, but Emily, come with the story.
So, approached for comment, both mine owners and the Department of Minerals, Resources and Energy had not responded by the time of this particular news going to print, going to publication. The story, it was printed, I think, by IOL. So the preliminary report of a multidisciplinary team led by JG and Kulu Incorporated, which investigated the community health, safety and environmental condition assessment allegedly caused by the mine's operations in the Reinkonyeni local municipality, that's MZUMBE. The name of their municipality is Reinkonyeni local municipality. Now, this document apparently was leaked, living just a stone's throw away from the mine. Albert Mtembu told the Daily News that when they visited the area, that the mine had disrupted the serenity and peace in his village under the KwaMadlala traditional leadership. He said that they don't sleep because of the machines that make a loud noise for 24 hours. There is pollution because of this mine, and the land has been ravaged, leaving their cattle with scarce grazing fields, said Mtembu.
I know you are imagining.
I'm imagining it. It's not enough.
I've seen it. Face value. I've seen people suffer. If you have kings who are also hungry, it's even worse, because they forget that they are not in charge of the land. They are looking after the land for people. Being a king, that's what it means.
They forget that.
Then they start talking about their land. It's not your
It's not
land.
their land, actually. It's not. It doesn't belong to the kings, but they like to present it as if it does, because they are, what do you call it, holders of the trusts. There's a reason why the land is under these trusts. It's
to
because it
protect
doesn't
the
belong
people
to you,
also.
the kings.
Yes.
It does not.
From your savage, sometimes personality, it protects them. I remember there's this woman that obekadingisiwe endaweni. She fought, and she was victorious
Eventually came back.
because
the law was on
indawo
her side.
yakubo leyana umsapi,
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
And people keep on forgetting that. Now, the situation that you were talking about at MZUMBE, I've never been there personally, but I can imagine, because now and then when I go home, I pass the mines, I see those side dippers that are busy there, and it's chaos.
It is. And the people that are living there, the poorest of the poor, are the ones that are suffering the most.
At the center of that, there is this person who probably can speak enough English and who thinks he understands mining.
Yes.
At the center of that,
While they don't know.
that person looks like you.
Yes. They always
You know,
send one of
they come to you, they
people
talk to you.
that
If
look
it
like
does
you.
not work, most of them, they use other tactics to scare you, because if you don't want to move, what else can they do? Money is there. You are standing in their money, in your land.
So the 46-year-old said that his family's house, like many others, was riddled with cracks, and that this was because of operations at the mine, which includes the excavation of land using heavy machinery. He said that his house is cracking, and he used his money trying to fix his house. And he said it's not only his house that is cracking, but all of the houses in the village. Some fear that their houses could collapse at any time. Can you imagine? At that time, these are tough economic
It
times.
is not by the disaster doing. It is
No,
not by natural disasters
causes.
or natural causes, but it is human beings.
Now he
In the name of enriching
themselves.
200 and something people out of maybe 1,000 or more
It's
than
not even
1,000.
I doubt it's 1,000. I would say more like 100,000 people in one village.
People who called that home, that place, a home. When they got off from the cities, they would find the green grasses there. They would
Fresh
find
air.
water running, fresh water.
Fresh air coming from the green vegetation.
It seems as if now that is all fading away from the sound of this complainant.
They are never going to be the same again after this mine is done and all the minerals that they're digging, they've finished them. Well, he warned that unless the situation is remedied, the operations were a ticking time bomb that would lead to a big disaster. So another resident, Umbuso Mkhize, said that he was not totally against the operations, but that it would have been better if the people were relocated before the operations began, which is quite a good point. Why can't they just properly move people if they really want to mine in a certain area?
Because in a business of capitalism, it's always about the cost minus the profit, which gives you the revenue, right? If that can amount to what you deem as less, then you'll try by all means to reduce the cost.
Sure. Well, obviously, he said that he was one of those who were happy when the mine was opened, but now he has mixed feelings due to the destruction brought by this mine. He said he was happy because a new mine comes with job opportunities, but now it is sad to see what is happening to people's houses.
And then after that, where do you eat that money that 4,000-7,000, where do you eat it? Something that you called home. You know, that's exactly because where I stay, they say there's cold. They wanted to move us for cold. You know, there's cold.
They want cold.
They want cold. You know,
and you must just disappear. Where you get to
in
live,
fact, not even disappear. You go to a congested area where your yard is like a township issue. I'm talking about acres and acres of space there at home. I am building currently. It's acres and acres of spaces there.
So you must let that go.
You must let that
and
go.
Be squished in
for 200,000 to build rondavels where you are going, where you can now have a garden, not hectares of plowing place.
And Konje, your ancestors were banished there during
those
times.
Yes.
They were banished there to say you cannot live close to a city.
It is always those ones
away.
who are in doubt, who are thinking or who are happy because of the jobs. It is always those ones that creates the difficult situation for others to refuse, because others can see through the bull just right away. Others on the other side, they look at this small nyana promise that is made, that is going to have you earning to 3,000, 4,000 if you are lucky.
And what about the fact that you don't even discuss the skills aspect? Because one thing that these mining companies, when they're promising the communities job opportunities and stuff, they are not transparent about the skills required to work in a mine. They don't tell the community that, they don't even offer them training to get the skills so that they can work the mines. They don't do that. So they're just assuming that, oh, you're gonna go there and work and earn 15K, 16K a month, only to find that they'll be taking people that are outside of your community. They will be recruiting people, engineers, geologists, miners, people who've worked in mining for years, actual miners.
When you talk about the benefits of the community, that's what you should look at. You can have a community that has teachers, and I'm not undermining teachers. They're doing a great job.
Other profession.
And yet people are coming with mind that is going to benefit the community.
How is it going to benefit the community when nobody in that community has skills of operating or even working in a mine? There is no land surveyor there.
There is no geologist. You don't have all these people, but you expect to benefit. How? Hard labor? If you're lucky, you get 2,000, 3, 4.
So our people have been bamboozled for many, many years with regards to this mining situation. I've watched so many documentaries. I've even lost count of the many, many documentaries I would see of people crying about these issues that MZUMBE people are crying about today in 2025. 2024, 2025.
We have watched documentaries. We have watched it on SABC. I don't know what that show is.
Dingo. There was a series called Dingo where they used to cover such things, and it was very educational, seeing how every time a community would revolt because they wanted to benefit from the mine, how much turmoil it caused. Have you forgotten even Marikana? Just 2012, there was the issue of Marikana there happening. The community was crying that they were not being developed.
You know what pains me? We are a society that is apologetic, and we do that with our people. You go to a new developing area, you buy a house in a residential area. Someone from suburbs buys a house, and they think it's good for them to build a tavern within that house, a residential area. Ingane yabantu engenamandla okulwa even with law, because law also takes long, and these people These people, they don't play around. They threaten you. They can actually take your life. So you now are left with nothing. You used maybe your last money to buy that house.
He added that he thinks that the mind should go back to the drawing board and fix this situation before it gets worse. It's a little bit too late now.
I think so. It is late.
So he said that they can't put their interest ahead of them as a community born and bred there.
It was always about that.
What Councillor Sfundo Ngwane was scathing about the situation. He said that some people have been complaining about the 24-hour noise and air pollution, which will eventually cause people to be sick. And he said, I think some things went wrong in the beginning. He said that he thinks that people should have been relocated first before the operations began. Despite saying his involvement was minimal, he promised that he would have serious discussions with the mine owners. Councillors always do this, in my opinion. I don't believe anything that
normally, because some of us studied in universities that are strategically moving towards a certain goal. So we would plan. I told you the stories. Yes. We would plan that, we were shutting down and everything. There's always going to be those calls that you get, special treatment. If you make noise and your noise is too loud, they will call you aside. And that's the way, divide
and
conquer. And you go there with good intentions, I promise you, bating is Zula, they can convince you otherwise. I'm not saying anything. Never trust one person who says it's going to be discussed on behalf of everyone else.
Next thing, they're driving a BMW X7.
I'm not saying there's something wrong with that.
Allegedly.
Others are good. They are forced to reckon with, like Abraham. They are forced to reckon with. And others, yeah, you know what I'm going to say.
So he said that if anything happens there, as the first citizen of the ward, he will have to account. Ngwane said that there was solid proof that the mine employed non-local residents, contrary to what the mine owners had said. Representing residents, lawyer Barnabas Krulu said that there was a stalemate between them and the mine owners over the resettlement of the affected residents. He said that he gave them a discussion document and they refused to sign it. And now he's in the process of talking to more residents and threshing the way forward. Krulu, who has litigated a mine-related matter representing mine-hosting residents amid the statement between him and the mine owners, Krulu said that he could not rule out the possibility of a legal showdown in a bid to end the impasse. So as a result of the operation, some of the residents had fallen ill. He said with some developing eye infections and others having difficulty hearing, allegedly due to noise of the mine. The Daily News was unable to independently confirm these allegations. And Kulu denied leaking the preliminary report because apparently he was the one being accused of leaking this report that was speaking to the damages that were happening at MZUMBE. So, Ian...
So what if he did? He's looking after his own people.
Yes, but he's denying that he did that, okay?
For his life, obviously, he has to do that.
So Ian Harold Bottle, a mine representative, was approached for comment but declined, instead sending a well-known businessman to attend to the questions. Now, this businessman is not known who this businessman is. So the Daily News said that they cannot name this businessman because he's not the spokesperson of the company, but only a service provider. He told the Daily News that the company had created more than 250 jobs that benefited the destitute in the community. 250 jobs. So a familiar sight with its accompanying sound for the tranquil MZUMBE community on the south coast. Activities at a nearby lithium mine, which included regular blasting, have turned life upside down for the residents who stay and who say that many of their houses had been damaged by the blasting and that they have fallen ill as a result of the operations there. I managed to get like videos of blasting, but it's not there. The one that we have or we're going to show now is what is happening at MZUMBE with the blasting. But I went to see other videos of engineering pages just to get an idea of what happens with this blasting, Mr. Anonymous. This blasting, they put like explosives underground, your dynamites and stuff, and then they just bomb, and then the ground vibrates, and it's like a bomb has hit that place. So look at that picture. Look at how there are houses there, and then there's a smoke. Do you see that?
Oh yes, I do.
Do you see that there's a smoke? You can see that blasting is happening, and just underneath there are people's houses.
Ah, shame.
This picture, like it's wrecking me. Like it's
all over.
me.
It's all over. It's all over. I don't think in the near future we'll be seeing those houses there.
It's been a year now. They're probably not even there now. Because that picture was taken last year.
Very green. Look at that place, how it is on the other side. It was green. And that is it. We will say it was.
It was.
When they are done.
That picture to me, it looks like a horror film. So on the 16th of July 2024, there was a resident who also like launched a petition on the Change.org website speaking against this lithium, mining lithium in MZUMBE. And then about 9 months ago as well, Robbie Mokhalaka from an organization called Groundwork did an interview on Newsroom Africa, and he also supported these allegations of intimidation and other members of the community also dying because they are against the mine and what it's doing to the community. Let us just listen to the whole interview, because he
alleged that people are dying because of that.
Yes, there are allegations of people dying because they are against this mine. Some people are being hunted. Intimidation, alleged allegations of intimidation for people that are protesting and don't want this mine anymore. Let's listen to the interview he did. This interview is from 9 months ago.
Some residents of the MZUMBE Ward 15 community are up in arms against a mine owned by SA Lithium, claiming that it has brought a trail of destruction and plunged their families' and individuals' lives into ruins. The miners denied this, saying it has benefited the community, having created more than 250 jobs since opening its doors 4 years ago. Let's speak to coal campaign manager at Groundwork, Robbie Mokhalaka. Of course, please do note that Newsroom Africa did reach out to SA Lithium. They said the matter is with their lawyers and they would issue a statement. But Robbie, a good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. This issue grabbing much of the country's attention this week. And I think one of the things that you've heard from the community is that this was at some point a peaceful community, but with blasting taking place almost 24 hours a day, that peace has all but gone. So talk to us firstly about the work of Groundwork and also what you make of the situation that is being faced by the MZUMBE community here.
Thank you. Morning, Naledi, and good morning to all viewers. Groundwork is an environmental justice organization. We work on the environmental justice issues and also advocate for just transition, not only just energy transition, but just transition in totality. We work around the country, and we also work with people that are affected by coal mines. And of course, the experience of a coal mine and lithium mining, are similar in one or the other.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about the experiences of the community So whether it be lithium or coal, it seems to be an ongoing discussion that the relationship between communities and the mines that come and operate where those communities are. I want to start with what some of those key issues are. I mean, I immediately think of things like social labor plans and the role that they play or should play in bringing synergy between the two role players.
Yeah, Naledi, you see, we have a big problem. There's a big problem that the government and even the mining corporations should admit that, where the mine should be benefiting, when the mine is actually coming to a community, it should be benefiting those affected community people. And people get excited because they see opportunity of employment, they see some socioeconomic, development in their lives, that will change for better. But unfortunately, it turns out to be a curse in many forms, in such that people, they end up fighting the mine back, crying every day. Their life is changed for worse. And unbeknown to them, because some of them don't have experience and they don't even think of making a research as to see how mining affected communities are affected out there. This is also because, hungry people are desperate people, and desperate people are vulnerable people, and vulnerable people always taken advantage of. Now, when they use employment as a bait to bite the buy-in of the community, and people, they run into that hoping that their life will change for better. Unfortunately, that is just a bait, because what those mining companies do is they promise employment without doing a skill assessment, without knowing who qualifies for that employment, who is employable, and whether or not the number will reach that 250, whatever number that they give. So that shows that they're just sort of using it as a bait, not based on facts within the community. How many people, in the community have matric? How many people have degrees? How many people have diplomas? How do you know, and how many of them qualify for the jobs, the type of jobs that you have? And yet you're saying, we will employ so many people. So that creates a lot of conflict at the end of the day between the community and the mine, because of the promises that they made and the expectation that was created by the mining corporations, and then communities start to protest. And often this leads to violence and killings and intimidations, because the community get divided now, and you have a migrant labor coming to the community, and they see those people as people that are going to take away what is expected of them, with that which they expect themselves, or what they're entitled to. And that then create a big friction. And it even ends up in killings within communities. Same with Somkele, you've heard Mamfikile Njangas was killed, and also Bazuka Khadebe in the Kolobeni, and recently in the Melmoth area, where the Jindal is proposing a coal mine, an iron ore, not coal mine, an iron ore mining. People are killed, are intimidated. In March, one person was killed, and now in July, another person was killed in the same area. So it leads to violence and hostile environment, and which people are not supposed to be living in. People are supposed to be living peacefully and be employed and have their life developed. Unfortunately, they have their house cracking, the land is taken away, they are living in a dusty place, and they don't know what to do. They are breathing a polluted air, and their environment is polluted, their water is polluted, everything else is polluted. Their life is changed completely. They become a sick community, and a frustrated one too.
Yeah, and where do they go when things get that desperate? I mean, when you are, for instance, seeing your house start to crack, and the infrastructure that certainly has been there, and in a lot of these communities, having even, sacred relationships with the areas that they're living in. Where do these communities go and who speaks for them? I mean, you talk about the conversation around job creation being used to I suppose get the buy-in of communities when a mine is set up in their area. But how do they ensure that those jobs are provided, that the social labor plan is in fact there, that it was submitted with authorities, and that there is somewhere to run when the damage infrastructurally, for instance, is already done?
The Department of Mineral Resource and Energy is responsible for that, period. It's responsible for that, to see to it, because every compliance issue with the mining, it is the responsibility of the department to enforce that those compliance are being seen to it. Unfortunately, the department is not doing enough. With the social and labor plan, they're actually doing nothing to make sure that that which is actually contained in those papers is implemented and the community is benefiting. There's nowhere else to go. You just have to speak with the mine, trying to get the documents. Even accessing the documents is very difficult, Naledi, for the community. Getting those documents and understand what is entitled to them, what promises are made in terms of that paper, so they can hold the mine accountable. It's very hard to access. The mine sort of even mentioned that this is a private document. We cannot give it to you. It's confidential, private and confidential.
Legally, is it? So let's stay with that. Legally, so you're talking about the documentation. I imagine you're talking about the SLP, so the social and labor plans. Legally, can a mine tell a community that that document should not be accessed? Can DMRE legally deny a community that social labor plan that is supposed to be speaking about how the mine will benefit the community?
Now, Lady, if I can ask you a question. Can you be denied an access of the document that talks to you? Can that document be denied and say it's private and confidential? How can it be private if it's talking to you? It is just one of those shenanigans just to complicate the situation and make sure that the community does not get what it deserves. The document is public. It's talking to me. It's talking about how you are going to and develop my life, or assist me, or employ me, or uplift my life. It's talking to me. You wrote it. You want it to actually access. You want it to work for me and to speak about, because it talks about me. But then at the end of the day, you say it's private and confidential.
At the same time, yeah. At the same time, Rabi, when these social labor plans, and now we're really speaking broadly around the mining community, or the mining sector, and a challenge that has been seen all too often, where the mining sector speaks to the communities that it operates in. Clarity around even how those SLP documents are written, right? That essentially they should be with the work of the community on what the community needs. So there should be consultation. Yes, does that always take place?
Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. That is one of the gaps. It doesn't happen. The mine just sit alone, develop the document without consulting the community, and they come back to the community and say, this is what we have for you. They don't sit down with the community, consult with them, and find out what the community needs, but they decide for the community in the absence of the community, which is a big problem. In often situation, in some situation, some community would actually fight back and say, but you say you want to renovate a school or build as a garden. We don't have the skills for gardening, but what we need is this. And then there's a conflict, that becomes a conflict between the two. So that is one of the gaps that, in fact, the way these things are done in terms of developing the social and labor plan, making sure that it's accessible to the people that are a subject of that document.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be done. The government is supposed to be monitoring those and make sure and enforce compliance on those as well.
Yeah.
But it's not doing enough.
I think of what we've seen recently with the president obviously announcing the new cabinet and the way that I suppose he's shifted things around, where Gwede Mantashe now oversees the Department of Mining and Mineral Resources, right? Do you think that that's going to be a step in the right direction for mining communities? And I mean, your message to the minister as we enter the 7th administration?
I don't see any change, Naledi. That is just one coin flipped onto the other side. We're still having Gwede Mantashe. We had Gwede Mantashe before. What do you expect? So the same thing will happen. And unless if the government sort of make sure that as a collective, there's a change, they learn from the past. Because what is more worrying, like I've mentioned, the issue of violence is that people are being killed and people are being intimidated. People are being forced to leave their homes for their own safety and stay elsewhere. And as we speak now, we're having a campaign on HRD. So it's a Human Rights Defenders campaign, and we'll be having a big protest or gathering in October this year on the 22nd, whereby we're calling for the development of a legal framework that seeks to protect human rights defenders, even with around the mining areas, around the country. It's not only for mining people, but different social justice spaces. So, and we would like the Newsroom Africa as well to come on board. We'll invite you guys.
Well, we'll be watching to certainly give it coverage. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Robbie Mokhalaga, coal campaign manager at Groundwork, expanding the conversation around the relationship between mines and certainly the communities that they operate in.
Well, I don't know if Newsroom Africa ever followed up on the protest that took place, but a lot that this man was saying, Mr. Mokhalaga, he was saying a lot of things that I found very interesting. But what I got a sense of, Mr. Anonymous, is that the community doesn't know what their benefits are from this mine.
Yes.
The document that outlines that is being kept confidential. It's been kept private. They don't have access to it. They're being told that it's a private document.
While it talks about them.
While it talks about them and what they're supposed to be benefiting. And another sense that I'm also getting here is that the government is failing the community.
Yep.
Dismally.
Well, there's nothing new. Same old story. Capitalism versus normal people.
Well, I'm going to share other comments that are coming, more especially from people of MZUMBE. Someone commented that the community benefits started with the unaliving of the previous Sand Mine business partner. This mine is nothing short of corruption thugs, allegedly. This is a comment that I got on social media from a commentator, and it looks like it's one of the people that reside in MZUMBE. Another comment, because they are giving exclusive. This, if it's true, I'm not saying that it is true, and I'm not reporting it as a fact. The unaliving of a previous mine business partner. We don't know which mine. We don't know.
Look, I don't know what to say. You know, I don't even want to dwell too much on that, because it's like you get in a greedy business. Let's continue. What did you, if you are one of them MZUMBE people, what did you think about them? That's my question.
Another comment that I found very interesting, and I'm going to share with you. This person said that they had tried to access many documents with regards to numerous applications for SA Lithium. They said that they were unable to download the heritage plan for this area and the application to change the course of the MZUMBE River, which was registered as a sacred site in 2015. he said that there's more, he or she said that there's more to this situation than meets the eye. Very interesting and intriguing that mining license was granted in July 2020 during the pandemic. When there was minimum movement. Remember, most people were locked
Yeah, they
in
were.
their houses.
But not capitalism. I mean, guys, come on.
Also, the question of land in tribal trust, who benefits, certainly not the residents. They never ever own their land. It's a feudal system, and the person who benefits is the chief. Interesting that the land claim on SA Lithium property was retracted. Who benefits from that? That is a question that this person was asking. And the chief, as it is his decision to withdraw the land claim, neither the mine or the powers that be care about the citizens, the environment, or desecration of heritage. Their focus is on the money, as this sort of geological formation could be a financial powerhouse. A little bit of research I did by the Google there. I found out information that MZUMBE Mining Company actually rebranded to Dentoprox.
Yeah.
And a very famous personality, Thobile Veronica Kumalo, who's a part of the family, the Polygamous, very famous Polygamous family that has a reality show on Mzansi Magic, the one that we used to review.
Yeah.
Appears as one of the company directors, along with the other gentleman. I think his name is Throttle or something. Throttle. I mentioned him earlier. But I don't know what he looks like. But we know what Thobile Khumalo looks like. We know
Definitely we do. We do.
Now, this Dentoprox company, it was incorporated in 2016. So it was opened in 2016. And MZUMBE Mining Company, it started mining around MZUMBE around 2014. And they then had their permit expiring. By 2018, they were applying for a new permit.
Yeah.
So they came back with a different company name now, and they rebranded and were allegedly given this permit that they are now using to mine the area in 2020.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about this mining company and its ties to the polygamous famous family that has been entertaining us on our TV screens from 2017 till date. And the polygamy family, the Mselegu family, is from MZUMBE. And I'm going to start by sharing an article with you guys, an article that I came across. And mind you, this article was written like 2 years ago. And that would be 2022 and 2023. It does not have an exact date as to when these events actually happened. It just says 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It says here, Thobile MAkhumalo filed criminal charges with the SAPS, that's the police, and the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, DMRE, against former business associates Pire van Veen Baronet. Yes, this is the surname that I was trying to... Yes, Baronet. So these are apparently father and son. So MAkhumalo, as she is known, claims that they made her out to be the proverbial darkie for hire to enable them to persuade the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy to grant 2 of their companies mining permits in KwaZulu-Natal. So I'm already getting the idea that it's an allegation that I will make that she was used to get
That's what
permits.
it says down there. That's what you can interpret it as. And that's what it says.
The criminal charges have since been allocated for investigation to the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation for further action. In communications seen by independent media between Mselegu and the authorities, she describes how the baronet hired her as the director of community liaison at the MZUMBE mining company on July 16th, 2019. Mselegu told the authorities that MZUMBE feared that they would not be reallocated permits when the current ones expired because of environmental concerns that the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy raised after complaints by the local community, and that the baronets then applied for new permits via a new entity, Dantroprox. So they then told her to resign from MZUMBE and start working as a director at Dentoprox in November 2019. So she's saying that they told her to resign from MZUMBE mining company and then work as a director at Dentoprox. I did check. She is a director at Dentoprox. She's listed as a director, and she's saying that her being added as a director, it happened in 2019, November 2019. She mentioned in criminal complaints that she received a window dressing directorship. That's what she's describing it as, a window dressing directorship. How we would term it, Mr. Anonymous, back in the day would say a token black in a company. Remember how we used to talk about how BEE, they would just put a black person who was clueless, who had no skill, no idea of what was going on.
Yeah.
And just put them there just so they can fill in the quota that they've got black people in executive.
Yeah.
So this is what she was accusing these two business partners, father and son, of having done to her in the court, not even the court papers, but the affidavit that she opened a case with, the one that they saw from SAPS. Now, she says that she mentioned in the criminal complaint that she received a window dressing directorship, was not paid by Dentoprox, had no access to bank accounts, and wasn't aware if Dentoprox traded and made money. So they just put her there as a director, but did not give her transparency when it came to the financial statements, the bank accounts, what was happening in the company, whether it traded or made money. She was not given access to that information. She said that I was the only director and was the only one that could run the company, but I was bypassed by simply being ignored. She said that she's a proud Zulu woman and was bitter when she was sidelined by white males who underestimated her and abused the fact that she was black.
All right.
Dentoprox made MAkhumalo out to be the person in charge, the sole director, and the brains behind the business when they asked the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy for a mining permit. That misrepresentation played a major role when Dentoprox was awarded a mining permit. This is disturbing.
Okay, so what would be interesting is, one, is the case still on?
There's no follow-up afterwards.
Okay.
There's no knowledge of what happened to
Did
this
something
case.
change?
I'm noticing from the reality show that a lot has changed with MAkhumalo's lifestyle, yes.
Oh.
And the fact that she's still working at the mining company. But it seems like she's more in the executive. She's more in the boss level.
Oh. Okay.
In my opinion, because there were comments that even her husband was making that she's making a lot of money. And obviously she cannot make a lot of money working at the bottom of the pyramid in the company. It means she's at the top. So a Department of Mineral Resources and Energy source told independent media, right, all of this information that was contained in that charge that she had opened. Mselegu alleged that baronets didn't tell her that Dentroprox was awarded a mining permit in January of that year. This is 2 years ago, so that would be maybe 2022. She's saying that then after they got the permit, after they had told the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy that she is the sole director, meaning she's the only boss of the company, they got the permit, and then they didn't tell her that they got the permit after they got the permit. So the baronets responded, saying that Mselegu's allegations were false and defamatory, and that Dentroprox was not required to have any black economic empowerment for a mining permit. No, I don't believe that. They confirmed that she was a director from November 4th, 2019 to May 6th, 2022. So actually they are saying they had terminated her directorship without her knowing. Is that what they're saying? Because she's denying that happened. She has had no knowledge of the fact that she was her directorship was taken away. But they denied any wrongdoing. So the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy had since suspended the mining permit. At the time, they had suspended the mining permit. So Thobile had words here. She remarked and said, "I want black ladies treated with respect, commercially as well. Apartheid and black economic exclusion are things of the past."
Mandara. Trust them to be freedom fighters when it suits them.
Honestly, I could not find out how this case ended, but I'm sure we can all see that eventually something happened. An arrangement, maybe they came to. Allegedly. But you can see that she's still working for them, because had it dragged, I think we would have found out by now. I mean, the media likes these types of stories. If it had gone to court, I think we would have known. You know, but so far we can see that it's business as usual. I know we don't know whether they settled out of court or if there was a verdict on the case.
Well,
however,
so basically there's nothing.
Yeah, we just see that right now her lifestyle has changed. Her husband has praised her for carrying that entire family financially and chipping in where he could not. You know, we saw on the reality show.
Okay.
So she recently also went live on her page, Mr. Anonymous. She was spotted by, I don't know whether you remember Umamko, but she rebranded. At the time, she used to watch our reviews and interact on the lives, but she has a very popping YouTube channel. Okay. So she got a screenshot of Thobile live and blasting with her company in MZUMBE.
Her company?
She has a company now.
That is blasting?
Blasting at MZUMBE. She has a construction company, yes. And I don't know whether but it seems like the construction company is working under the mine. I don't know whether it's a subcontract or what, but she's the construction company. Akiri construction company also has blasting rights, I think. So Mamgo, they got a footage of this, and by the way, shout out to her, because I would have never known about this tea if it wasn't for her. So let's play that footage, Mr. Anonymous.
Okay. Ungahambi ke. Ngenze njani? Ayikho bucayi. Angama la. Cha ayikho bucayi. Mayingekho bucayi sikayishayi. Thatha minutes a lot. Kodwa vele kuzoqhubeka. No, meke saplasta manje then sizokhuluma. Asilinde. Vele siyaplasta manje. I think sinama minutes ayifew sesizoplasta. Mesiqeda ukuplasta ngizokhuluma nawe vele ngiyangale. Ngakuthatha sehle nawe vele ngiyalapha ngale kaMthembu mangisuka la. Sibe sizokhuluma ngendlela. Listen guys. semsebenzini lana so inguyazana ke into zala emsebenzini ke khululekani sine blasting namhlanje so simile la emgaqweni
The houses.
manje sekuqala inguyazana so guys
It's the houses for me.
Yeah, same here.
I saw comments from people who had experience or were saying that they had experience in mining, showing concern over the blasting that was taking place close to people's houses. And considering all this tension that was reported in the media with the community, are they just doing as they please or what? The community members of MZUMBE also are not really extremely vocal like how I would have expected.
What did you do? What did you do? I
They are
mean, what did
fearing
you do?
intimidation.
Are they fearing intimidation? Is that the question? Okay. We don't know. We don't know.
You know, I also remember back in the day from the community that I come from, they said that they had found this mineral of doing ceramic plates and whatnot. And there were people that were living in a mountain across the highway that where I was staying. And they were wanting to move those people. And they were not having it. To this day, they're still there. And then the government said that they cannot give them water, they don't give them electricity because the land they are occupying is the land that needs to be used for mining. They refused, and the rest of us as a community supported them refusing because we knew that should a mine start there, it was also going to affect where we were. So we supported them. The protests, I remember there were a lot of protests that were happening. There was noise, and everybody was just saying, no, we don't want the mine, we don't need the mine, we don't care about your jobs. And then I remember how powerful that statement was, because to this day, those people are still there.
Okay. So here's a question for me before we close because it's late. Is that the reason why Mseleku is buying these wives' houses outside? I'm just asking. It's a question because I don't know. I mean, blasting is affecting people, obviously. And then you are buying people houses in town. Is that why?
Away from MZUMBE. And I remember watching this past season, I saw a hole in MAkhumalo ceiling, and people on Twitter were asking, why is
I think I saw a crack also in one of these houses. My worry is with those people of MZUMBE who cannot go anywhere.
Who don't have the money to
don't have the
buy
money to
new
go
houses. But what about that?
If really that's the reason why he's moving, that's a question. What are you saying about those people? But it's a very interesting story at all, Emily, that you have trampled upon here. It's one to reckon with and watch and just see what is currently or what is the end to it. But yeah, it's very sad that money rules.
This is sad, you guys.
If that is the case,
my prayers will be with the people of MZUMBE. Luta continua. The struggle continues.
Right, Buffet to say, Valandi, thank you very much for being with us. And until we meet again next time, it's a bye from me. Emily, anything?
Nothing from me, guys. Thank you for joining and making it to this far of the video. If you have, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Until the next one, it's a bye from us.